Welcome back to Kettlebells and Cocktails. I'm your host, John, back with my bestie, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing tonight?
Feels like it's been a minute
It has.
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. It's been crazy in the world of banking for the last week or so I'm catching up, but life's
Is
good.
that is that because of tax time?
Uh, well, maybe partially. It's mostly due to the failed banks out on the West Coast,
Oh yeah,
making
that's a thing.
making life hard for the rest of us. But it's all good.
Ugh, yeah.
So, not to mention crappy economy and inflation and uh, rising interest rates and you name it. Just throw it all out there. It's all
Oh, just
sketch right
just
now.
that stuff? That's
Yeah,
all? Got it. No
you know,
problem. Yeah.
you're basically a millionaire. You raise chickens, so with all those
That's
eggs,
right. That's right. Come at me, bro. I'm hugging eggs on the black market.
you should go sell them on the side of the street. You could quit your actual job and just sell eggs.
I would love that. Find me on the corner, slinging yolks,
Slinging yolks, yo.
slanging yolks.
That would be awesome. Well, I'm excited about our show tonight because I love talking about affiliates, and we have Austin from CrossFit. Austin, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm living the dream, man. It's good to see you. When did
Good.
I see you last? I guess it was Wadapalooza, right?
Yeah, I think Wadapalooza, yeah. So which seems like yesterday, but also a year ago, right? In the same
Yeah.
vein.
Well,
So
that's what I was thinking. It feels like it was forever ago. So I was like, I've been looking forward to the show for a long time. I'm like, man, when is it coming up? And but it does feel like Wadapalooza was like 2 weeks ago. It's crazy.
right.
We did the true adult thing where, like, if you really want something to happen, you just have to put it in the calendar. And even if it's like 4 months down the line, isn't that wild? Do you guys do that? Like, I swear my best friend and I see each other once a quarter. And we just throw it in the calendar. Like, we'll hang out and we'll be like, when's the next time we're doing this? Free in about 3 months. You? And she's like, yup. And we put it in. And that is the only way that it happens. It's so
Yeah.
dumb.
Because if the closer it gets, then you would push it out because you're too busy, you're tired, whatever it might be. But if
Hmm.
it's there, you've made that commitment. So the calendar has become a yes, live and die by the calendar. So
Live and die. I found this thing it's like a big digital version of it's kind of like a giant iPad and you like put it up on the wall of your house. It's like framed with a wooden frame and it kind of looks nice, but it syncs with your Google Calendar. And I'm dying to buy one because I'm like, I just want that
Mm.
up in the kitchen so Matt can stop asking me what we're doing this
Can
weekend.
you send that to me? Send me the
Yeah.
link because I could really use that. I've talked about this on the page all the time. I'm talking about it on here much, and we'll do a show eventually. But I have crazy ADHD, and what
Hmm.
comes with that is a terrible short term memory, and so my whole life goes into that Google Calendar, like
Yep.
everything.
mhm.
It's the only way I can get things done. Otherwise, I just straight up forget.
Yeah.
It's not out of a sense of rudeness. It's like I'll plan something with the best of intentions, and my mind just goes to 100 different places.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad you guys like really thought ahead when you saw each other
Yeah.
in January to be like, let's do this in April.
Well, we ran into each other at the affiliate tent there at Wadapalooza, and
Yep.
now that I'm part owner of an affiliate, I'm far more interested in what's actually going on behind the scenes and support and all that stuff. And Austin and I got to chat, and I'm like, man, I can't be the only one that thinks about these things out here. I think others have the same questions and are curious about the stuff that's coming up because there's so much stuff going on in the space. What typically gets the lion's share of attention is the games, which, I
Right.
understand that people like to watch the spectacle. But I'm the weirdo that's like kind of interested to see what's coming down the pipe for the everyday Joe like me. So I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm the weirdo too because that's where I over index as well. So I get that and I live that every day. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. How you liking the new role?
Yeah, wait, can you just back up before you even answer that? Can you explain what your role is right now? Because I understand that it's like moved a couple times. And so, what is your role with CrossFit these days?
Yes. Yeah. So right now I oversee the global affiliate vertical. So all of the 13,000 affiliates around the world and the everything that goes into that world I oversee. So it's which is awesome. And we obviously here in the States we have a large affiliate community, but globally we're in 156 countries, and growing quickly. So we have a whole international team, an international field team. We have a domestic field team. We have a lot of other support that helps the whole affiliate ecosystem, move forward. So it's it sounds, robust, but, I often think through, you know, how do you equate that at the affiliate level? It's, well, think about, you have members, right? Those are our affiliates, right? So like, when you're an affiliate owner, you have your 150, 200 members, and there's a lot of things that go into, you know, actually running the CrossFit gym. Yes, there's the classes, but there's all the other things. Um, and the bigger you get, the more the operations have to be able to handle that. So if you have 300 members, things change. And that's where it's a very similar, business with our affiliates, where we just have a lot of them, and they're all over.
No pressure. Just 13,000 affiliates worldwide that you manage. No big deal. Got it.
Yeah, well, it's and I, it's funny, it's because of the affiliate model. It sounds a lot, but by design, it is as hands off as you could get by design, right? As and for the affiliate owners, it's certainly for those that have been around a long time. That was always the deal, right? Hey, I'm an affiliate owner. Let me run my business. Let me do my
Yeah.
thing. Um, and as we progressed, our goal is to given the opportunity for support, but also be respectful of the ability and willingness and wantingness to just say, hey, I'm a CrossFit gym. Let me do my thing. And so there's a beauty and a bane with that, because we definitely want to help as much as we can, but we also don't want to overstep. Um, and business is a lot different now than it was, gosh, a couple years ago, but 10 years ago, certainly in
Hmm.
the fitness space, and running a small business, not even just a CrossFit, affiliate, has become more challenging. So I think those details are definitely not lost on us.
Yeah. That's complicated.
I always find it interesting when I hear people talk about support coming from HQ. The question I read online is, well, what do I get for my 3 grand, or what do I get for my affiliate fee? And I always kind of internally think, like, the beauty of the CrossFit model forever has been independent ownership. My opinion is that, for this 3 grand, you go run the business the way you want to run it to the ground if you want to, or run it brilliantly, which is what a lot of people do. Um, and the trade-off of that, to your point, is, I hate to call it a hands-off approach, but it's freedom.
Mhm.
That's the trade-off. You get a lot of freedom. And so I guess I'm curious, as just the insight to what you guys focus on. Like, how much do you balance that, or do you try to? You guys have like a percentage you look for of, here's how much we want to be involved, how much we don't, or are we still kind of winging it a little bit?
No, yeah, it's a great question, and I think in the what do I get to be an affiliate? I think it's easy for us to forget that have been in the space for a long time, the value of CrossFit as a brand, a global brand. And I've been doing CrossFit. Gosh, I'm about as one dimensional as it gets for over 12 years, and it's it. But it's easy to forget that functional fitness, or those things pale into comparison of CrossFit, and specifically when it comes to people looking for that. Now, there's always positive and negative, right, with brand sentiment of when you look up CrossFit, it's there's always is it dangerous, or the CrossFit Games and that stuff. But you know you have that with any type of fitness program, really. Um, but then from there, to your question specifically is, you know, in the beginning, when I first came on board, we really wanted to assess, well, what do we give affiliates now, right? What are the tools? And there wasn't much, right? It was really very transactional. We wanted to shift that to, well, what were the things that we as owners, and by we, myself, and we also brought in a whole bunch of other affiliate owners to ask them that question: is what would you have liked to have as a gym owner throughout your owning career? And a lot of it came down to just a bunch of mistakes that were made, and it would have been easily avoided if someone told you, or if you read something, that type of stuff. So that's where we originally wrote the playbook, gosh, almost 3 years ago now, with that in mind of, you know, a lot of some of the longest tenured and very successful affiliates coming together and saying, these are the things that, I wish I had. And then as we've kind of progressed to where we are today, we've tried to be driven from what our community has asked for, and also what the data says. So what the community has asked for, and we hear this a lot, is, what do I get for my affiliation? And a lot of that is, we're a small business, and it's hard to run a business. We don't have buying power. We don't have leverage as other bigger businesses do. As more of the franchises have popped up, we see, they're able to leverage larger, entities of within the parent company to market and things like that. So how can we, as a larger brand, support our affiliates? And that tries, without stifling that independent ownership, that's a hard balance, right? There's certain things we just can't do, um, because of that, because we can't say, hey, we're going to have 5,000 people buy this, so give us the lowest price, because we can't guarantee that. We can't tell you at your gym to really do anything other than do CrossFit and do it well, and keep people safe. And that's really, when you look at the license agreement, that's the premise, and that's what's most important to us. So things like the APN and other tools that were come out from, really brought about from what the community asked for. And as we progress deeper down, and what we're really focusing on now is basic, how do we help our affiliates become more profitable and run a better business? Where we have a lot of affiliates that we work with, that we talk to. We have our field rep team that we built. A lot of it comes down to is, hey, our business is struggling for whatever reason, and they're looking for help and support. And we have a lot of people in the ecosystem that help gyms, whether they're mentors, whether there are tools or programs to help to make running the business a little easier. Because most affiliate owners, and myself included, and we started out as coaches. We didn't open a CrossFit gym because we were like, yeah, this is it. This is going to make me millions of dollars, and this is, I'm a business person, and CrossFit's just an opportunity. No, it's the other way around, where we started as, we want to help people. CrossFit works. We want to share that with others, and it's a passion. So there's a beauty to that, and that's why our community is so strong, and that's why it's so infectious. But along the way, really looking for help from a business perspective. I was fortunate. I had a business partner and people around me that had deep business knowledge that I was able to beg, borrow, and steal from, and it permeated to run a healthy business. But those are things that we're really looking at because that's when we think about a symbiotic relationship. We do better at CrossFit HQ if our affiliates do better. It's that simple. So it's important for us to make sure that we're giving them at least the tools and resources to run a healthy business. And there's a lot of facets to that, quality of coaching, programming, but there's also, you have to be able to run a good business so you can deliver classes, so people can come to your gym. So it's not a, if one is better than the other, it's they have to be happening in a parallel path.
Do you worry about the quality control that comes with that? Like this kind of, I hate to keep calling it hands-off approach, but
Mm.
when you allow this much freedom, there's certainly a quality control issue that can come up. Like I look at some of the great franchises that are out there, whether it's Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, whoever, and those are obviously food companies, but
Yeah.
they have very strict quality controls, both on product, cleanliness, that sort of thing. And I go in some CrossFit gyms. Like I'll give you an example. I used to train at CrossFit Mentality up in Menor, which is Scott Panchek's gym. You could literally eat off the floors in his gym. That dude is so anal retentive about the cleanliness and the equipment in his gym. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then I've been in other gyms that will remain unnamed that are just, there's an inch of chalk as far as the eye can see. Does that concern you guys? Do you ever talk about it, think about it, or is it still, the fittest will survive?
Um, Absolutely, we talk about it, so, and what I mean by that is, and that's why there's a beauty and a beauty to this notion that the cream will rise to the top, the fittest will survive, and again, that has created the community where we are today. I think on the other side of that, what we really want to be able to achieve, and we're not there yet, but we're really looking at how we can. It's less of, you know, it's less of the punitive, or identify the gyms that aren't doing well. It's more, what are the gyms that are, who and what are they doing really well, the ones that are real, to your point, the mentalities of the world, the ones where they're operationally strong, their coaches have a high credential, their classes are very high quality. So, and we want to reward that, and that's important, right? We're rewarding that, and pointing to, hey, here are the red threads of our affiliates and gyms that are really successful. And because I can tell you, as in my time on the road, doing seminars, doing coach and development programs, the best affiliates, no matter where they are in the world. Now, they all look and feel a little different, but there are commonalities, right? And those are the things that really do matter, right? One of which is simple, but I think it's easily forgotten, is this consistent pursuit of excellence translated through higher education, trying to deliver a better product. This sort of the always learning mindset. And and Greg said this, early on, is like, whether, I can judge a CrossFit affiliate by the how well your athletes are air squatting and by how clean your bathrooms are. That's an oversimplification of you're operationally sound and you're also technically profound in how you're delivering the methodology of CrossFit. So when we look at that, we want how we do that is really important. And as an operation gets bigger, it's harder to do that, right? It's harder to think about how to run a successful operational side of a business as well as deliver a high quality product. Again, we can walk into beautiful facilities that and that aren't CrossFit, but they may be other franchises, whatever it might be. But it's a workout, but it's not CrossFit. There's but you marry those together, it's really special. So what we are challenged with are thinking about how we really elevate those that are doing what we want to see. What we want is gyms that really care about the quality of the product they're delivering on the floor, and that and I'm a believer that we are better off. And I was speaking at an affiliate summit a couple weeks ago, and the question always comes up about the gym down the road. They're not good, right? They give CrossFit a bad name. They give us a bad name. What should we do about it? And yes, we have a responsibility to help and give tools and resources, but our affiliates also have a responsibility to help them. If you can help that gym be better, it helps you. It helps CrossFit. Because if we think about if that gym down the road that has CrossFit on the front of their door that you may think has areas of improvement, and you make them a stronger, better CrossFit affiliate, that will help your brand. That will help CrossFit for everyone. I mean, in my own town down the road, there's 2 CrossFit gyms on the same road, 1 mile apart. Both are successful. And the more successful one is, the more successful the other will be, because it elevates the brand. If one, this sort of abundance mindset as opposed to scarcity mindset. And I think we got into a scarcity mindset as a community, through COVID and on the other side, because we pulled back into our 4 walls, and we were in survival mode. It was hard. Running a gym was one of the hardest industries to keep alive. I had 3 gyms at the time. I had to shut down 1. I understand it. It was tough. So I think we have some of that healing to also, kind of deal with after a lot of that, which took a toll on our community.
Oh, we lost you, Nikki. You're on mute.
Sorry,
somehow.
I hit mute by accident. My bad. It's a super interesting take on it, and probably a tough sell to try to convince affiliate owners that, raising the tide, a rising tide lifts all, you know what I'm saying, versus that gym 1 mile from me is going to take my people. It's going to take potential customers away from me. And I feel like small business owners especially are really sensitive to, the boots on the ground, the people that walk in the door, the business that I could have. And I fully understand and agree with what you're saying for the brand, but I bet it's tough to really convey that sentiment to folks whose literally their dinner depends on how many people walk through the door today.
Well, and I think that you bring up a really good point of something that is, is how many people walk through the doors. And I think this is something that, we look at one of our main goals as a brand, and one of our main goals for our affiliates is how do we drive more awareness of CrossFit to the broader ecosystem?
Yeah.
And how do we drive more people into all of our CrossFit affiliates? That's one of our responsibilities at CrossFit, is where we should be really not only be able to, but also make clear that we're driving more members into your gym.
Yeah.
And so that's our responsibility, and and that's something we need to do. And we're spending a lot of time and cycles on, from people that come to CrossFit.com, and then bringing them to the affiliate map, and then eventually to the affiliate. And we're doing new things, which is really exciting. nerdy stuff, but making sure that when people search CrossFit, CrossFit.com is actually at the top. You'd be
Oh,
surprised,
Google
right?
keywords and AdWords, SEO, SEM. I'm speaking my language, man.
Yes, exactly. And as you know, people can bid on those things.
Absolutely.
That's not CrossFit. So, like, we were at the bottom of the list, say 6 months ago, and now we've increased that traffic by like gosh, like 40% in like
Good.
3 months, and
That's
really
great.
good stuff. And we drive to two pages, either, what is CrossFit, or go find an affiliate, and we're able to start to track that stuff. And so we're building that muscle, which is, again, a little in the weeds, but I think it's important because the next step is we're working on retooling our affiliate map, so we can have a better place to showcase our affiliates. So when someone comes there, they can actually then reach out to you really easily, and you can get someone, and we can start to track that, and identify what works and what doesn't work, what gets more people to that page and to our gyms. So that's one side, that muscle we need to build, so our affiliates feel that there's an abundance of traffic, because that is important, to your point. I mean, the business model of a CrossFit affiliate is relatively simple: members, and there's two sides to that coin: is new members and retention.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think, to that point of the worries of members and volume, I think a lot of this comes down to is, and this is why, I've been spending a lot of time talking to the mentors in the CrossFit space that help these businesses, and a lot of it is, you don't need a lot of members. You need, I mean, you can't most gyms can't really handle more than 150 or 200 members, like, from a volume perspective. So making sure that your business and your business model is set up so we can handle that appropriately, and that you have 150 members that are, paying the right price, that are paying for the value that you're delivering, which is really hard. I struggle with this a lot, when at my gyms, of, you had your founders, right? You had all these things, because you care about people so much, that you
Yeah.
sometimes lose sight that you're running that business, and a lot of that, you need some help, and that's where a lot of, coaches and mentors come in to
Yeah.
identify areas of improvement. And so, um, and yeah, and we have some gyms that are able, the big gyms that have 400 or 500 members, but I think the average affiliates have about 150 members, which is about right when I look at the spaces I had. Um, and it also allows you to have less of a footprint. The
Mhm.
more real estate you have, that makes running the business a little more challenging. So I think, having these conversations that we're having now, we never had years ago, right? I mean,
Right.
you guys know that, like, we never talked about the business of running an affiliate. We talked a lot about other things, and um, so it's refreshing that we can speak about this. We can talk about it with our affiliates. It's uncomfortable, business, and it is sometimes a challenge. But I think it's the fact that our community is asking for the help, that we're working and leaning in on it. It's exciting. We have to deliver results. We can't just talk about it, but it's definitely, it's refreshing. Certainly from, you know the the selfish perspective of me being an affiliate for a long time. You know, I never even entertained these conversations with CrossFit ever, right?
No.
It wasn't even a thought process.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been coaching for 12 years now. Oh gee, just like you. Feel it. I feel it. And it's
That's
a
right.
very different shift in overall mentality. It's also a different shift in what the affiliate owners have been asking for. There was a time where I don't know if they wanted the support as much. There was also, there were fewer affiliates. There was less of a brand. There was less of a whatever. But I love the idea of listening to their requests and
Mm.
being there with the resources if wanted, if necessary, if whatever. And um, pushing
Hmm.
the phone calls and the round tables and everything onto them, being like, oh, you guys should really come, and seeing who shows up, because
That's right.
it's definitely an evolution of where the brand and also the affiliates and the owners and the coaches, whatever, where everyone needs to be.
Well, there
What's
was
it
less.
called? Oh, go ahead, John.
I was going to say there's less competition then too, though. That was part. We had this
Yes, that
explosive
was part
growth
of
in
it.
the early
Uh-huh.
days, but what people often don't talk about is in the early days, what you didn't have was Orange Theory and all these
Yep.
booty boot camps on every
That's right.
corner, and
But
kind of
you
all the.
always had Les Mills. And I used to coach a
Yes.
class called Shabam, which was
Mhm. Yeah.
literally like a dance fitness class. True story. When I was first starting CrossFit, I was like coaching Shabam like 3 times a week. So Les Mills was always there. Just
Well,
throwing
I
that
just,
out there.
in those days, I think it was easier to get people to come in because there wasn't, you didn't have a lot of competition. And so you could go out and get a lot of people like me that wanted to work out, didn't really know where to start, didn't want to pay for a personal trainer, like
Mm.
the idea of group classes. But now you've got, half a dozen pretty big chains that do group classes, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yes.
I think the biggest thing for you guys to battle, and I'm curious on your insight on this, is like you're talking about getting people in the door. I talked to, kind of met 3 different people last week outside of the space but we're all in fitness. And the one thing they all said to me was, "Oh, I could never do that. I could never do what you do. It's too scary, too dangerous, too extreme." Like that was kind of the mindset.
Really?
Yeah. And
Still?
it's absolutely still in the community. And I
Dang.
think that's maybe in my mind, that's the biggest obstacle to getting people to set foot in the space.
Hmm.
How do you
Yeah.
beat down that mentality that we're still out here trying to make people puke every day? you
Hmm.
know
Yeah, yeah, and I think that assessment and that challenge, I agree with you on that. We hear that a lot, and you know, we've had the opportunity to, a lot of listening, a lot of people from outside and inside the space, and our affiliate. I mean, when we get in front of our affiliates, that question comes up verbatim of, what are you doing to change the brand perception? To that point of, CrossFit's too hard, it's dangerous, and again, and what permeates that, I think. And as we look back, one, messaging is really important. So when we think about what we message and how we message it, and if you take, I point back to the Open as if you look at a lot of the media that was pushed around that, there was a concerted effort to tell stories of people that that when we would, outside of the world of CrossFit, are relatable and really powerful stories.
Yeah.
So some of the stories that we ran, some of the CrossFit Bison stories were really powerful in week 2. So, and that's something like, we know the games is a platform, but we need to make sure that we utilize that platform to tell the stories of what's happening in our affiliates. Where, you know, yeah, seeing amazing athletes do amazing things, got it. You know, I get it, but we have to be able to show what CrossFit does at our community level. And so that's really where we're spending a lot of our time from a media perspective, is really
Yeah.
highlighting that. But no doubt will always be a challenge. And this is where, when we think about marketing, I always thought about marketing as it's education, right? That's really what it is. And you're educating on something. And, we have a job of demystifying a very mystifying industry, which is fitness, right? I mean, it is a challenging, industry to navigate, and then you layer on sort of the antithesis of what most people think they should be doing. Work hard, right? It's a challenge. Right? Most people are looking for, how do I get results relatively quickly? That's just the reality. The good thing is CrossFit works, and we have that caveat to lean on, and then really thinking about, we have 13,000 affiliates. We have all these members. We need to make sure that we highlight these stories. So little things that we're doing at the ground level. It's going to take time. And we actually have like a PR firm in the United States, that what we do is we in all of our field staff, and we send it to our affiliates. If you have a story that of someone at your gym doing something that's new, that we send, actually we have an email address that you can send to this agency, and then they work with local media to see if they're willing to highlight it. So it's about once a week where a local news station highlights something that's happening at an affiliate.
Well,
These are things.
ironically, the local news team was at my affiliate tonight because that same media team reached out to us. That
Yeah,
wasn't planned, by the
awesome.
way, but
Heck
How
there they
yeah.
were.
Well,
funny. Good timing.
that means we
Yeah,
know, at least we know it's working. It's like,
yeah.
I say this, and it's a big machine, but and that's our biggest power, right? And I think that that's something that it's with a community as large as we have, moving in one direction, moving together, to your point of, we should be pushing each other to, have a better quality in all of our gyms, no matter, whether you're the best in the world or it's your first day with your doors open. That helps us. And then making sure that at that ground level, people are aware of it. I mean, that's how CrossFit worked. It went viral quickly, word of mouth, and it was right place, right time. In a lot of sense, we can still take advantage of that. I mean, there is no other fitness gym chain, you name it, that has as vast of a network that we have. So we can harness that for the good. No doubt that challenge is still there. And I spoke with an affiliate this week, and she was really asking how can she reach a group of people that are still afraid, right? So little thing, to come in. So a lot little things that we want to work on, and we have some of the tools like in a marketing toolkit of giving, how to articulate what CrossFit is, the magic of CrossFit, those things that like Nicole Carroll, led in the first couple of months of the year. That type of messaging was important. It speaks maybe a little too much to the existing CrossFitter, but it is inspirational enough to raise an eyebrow that you're not upside down and you're not flipping around. You know, something is actually changing, right? Like, positive life change. And I think that's where we're seeing the direction of from a communication and marketing perspective. But no doubt a challenge that we have, because you walk into a gym and, you know, when you see someone doing a pull up, even that's nerve wracking for someone that hasn't even seen a pull up bar or let alone hung on a pull up bar. And that's why virtuosity and coaching is really important. And and communication and things that we teach at our level 2 and things like that, where understanding how to communicate with athletes, and because it's an athlete is when they walk in the door. And not to go too far off subject, but I'll never forget at Reebok CrossFit One, we had a gal walk in, and one of our trainers, started talking to her, and I talked about this because she wasn't a member; she was just someone that walked in. And in the business world, that's a lead, right? If you want to be nerdy about it, right? And in our world, it's a human being, right? And they walk in and engage in a conversation, and I overheard it, and afterwards, he filled me in on what the conversation was, and she said, "Hey, basically said, I'm nervous, I'm petrified, I'm out of shape, I don't feel like I even should be here, and he took her to the side, walked around, spent probably half an hour with her, just talking to her, and got to the end of it, and he said, well, what would you like to achieve if you were to join here?" And she looked at the pull-up bar and she said, "I would just like to hang from the pull-up bar." Like, she goes, I just feel like I could never do that. It gives me goosebumps just kind of reiterating that, because that was a legit, she just said, it was something she never thought she could do. It's like, well, great. Well, let's work towards that. We'll set a plan and we'll work on getting you to hang from the pull-up bar. There was no other conversation about anything else other than that. She came in and brought her through a couple, one-on-ones to get her comfortable and to learn some of the movements about the community. And then she started taking class. And a month later, she hung from the pull-up bar for 20 seconds. Came off the pull-up bar crying, right? And and it was one of those moments that she was just saying thank you, and I highlight that because that's the role of the coach, is to meet the athlete where they are, not where you want them to be. And then from there, make sure they're a part of the community. For this individual, just being in the gym around people and then matriculating into class was something that she never thought that she wanted to do or be, because she was so nervous and afraid, and developing that confidence, and then hanging from the pull-up bar achieved a goal. And you do that, now she's going to go out there and talk to someone that would have never even thought a CrossFit gym existed. And if we continually do that, we can, that's how we can make real change. And that's why, but we as coaches need to continually be better. And because it's a challenge, you have to be really confident in your abilities to be able to do that, to meet them where they are and to get them into class. And then how do you assess everyone with that same ability? So it's a little tangent, but I do think that we can easily forget how important the role of the coach is when it comes into running a gym, and that we can never just rest on the fact that, well, CrossFit works, so just take class, and no, let me have a conversation with you. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? And because that also is what separates us from any other fitness program. It's not hard to make a hard workout. It's not hard to do things that make you sweat. Right? That's easy. Right? What separates CrossFit is the neurological adaptations, the adaptations that happen between the years, right? The learning of new skills, because these are things that will unlock new opportunities that you'd never imagine. And it also gives you opportunities to have wins, right? Getting stronger and getting faster, all that happens. Losing body fat, gaining muscle, great. But doing something you've never done in your life before, certainly as we get into older in our life, these are things that almost seem unattainable for most
Mm-hmm.
adults. And that's kind of what's cool about CrossFit is you get someone upside down for the first time in their life. That's literally life changing, right? So those are just I think those things are what we can forget because we get too enamored with, you know, we kind of start to major in the minors as opposed to pulling back and, you know, that's the red thread I see at our best gyms. They do that
Mm.
really well.
You know what else? Making friends. Like as you get older, I just feel like the opportunities
Yeah.
to meet new people and make new friends, they just dwindle. And people get so much more awkward. My God. It's true.
Yeah. I feel.
It's true.
Oh yeah.
It,
Yeah.
yeah. And like,
I feel like that's
obviously
me. I'm always in
we're
my basement. So
just
yeah,
just a
it's my
mole
basement.
man, just like
That's
who's
right. Yeah.
never coming up and into the sunshine. No, but I'm
That's right.
serious. Like I have found that, and obviously like I'm deeply embedded into my community, so of course like my best friends come from the gym. But outside, once you're an adult and you have this sort of like monotonous life of like work, gym, home, who are your friends other than the people that you've already known for a while or the people you work with or the people who go to your gym? So it provides this sort of like adult opportunity to continuously meet new people and make new friends that I feel like a lot of other communities lack. The I air quote communities, right? Like a lot of other
Yeah.
anything as an adult, it's hard. There I will say the one other place I have found new friends is like just in parenting, because the very first day that I dropped off my kid at daycare for a full day of daycare, I was losing my goddamn mind. I was just freaking out. Just like dropped him off in tears, like walked back to my car like heaving, like I could not like deal with parting with my kid for several hours at once for the very first time. And some very sweet lady walked up to me in the parking lot and she was like, "Do you want to maybe like go get a coffee?" And I was like, okay. And now she's like
Yes.
one of my close friends, because in
Yeah.
that moment she was like, "Hey, do you want to be mom friends?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And I can't even tell you the last time I had an adult opportunity to make a new friend like that. So I do think it provides that type of socialization that we're lacking a lot of times in our monotony of adulthood.
Well, and what's interesting about that, Nikki, is most CrossFitters, at least gyms I go into, we all have very similar personalities. Like there's a certain type,
Mm,
you know,
sure.
we're all kind of
Yeah.
alike. And I often say, CrossFit's for anyone can do CrossFit, but it's not for everyone.
Hmm.
Like not everyone has that personality type. So I think we tend to gravitate toward those people. And so for me, that's what I'm kind of most curious about here, Austin, is like, how do we attract that person? Like most
Mm.
CrossFitters, again, in my opinion, are kind of A-type personalities. They have a high threshold for pain. They take instruction
Mm.
well. They're kind of like Marines, for lack of a better
I
term. Or
am none of those things.
well,
I'm the
no, but no,
polar
you are
opposite of everything
though.
you just
You
said.
you
I have
are
a
though, Nikki. That's the
terrible
thing.
pain threshold.
But you're
Ugh.
driven. Like, there's a lot of qualities that come to
I see where
CrossFitters.
you're coming
CrossFitters
from.
are driven, they're problem
Yeah.
solvers. Like those are the people you have to find. So I guess the question is like, are there
Mm.
specific partnerships we could be looking for with other companies
Yeah.
that those same type of people gravitate toward we should be targeting, or should the affiliates be going out looking for these people?
God,
So what-
it's and John, it's a great question, and it's nice to know that like when it's funny. A couple weeks ago, we had a meeting with a bunch of individuals, and we talked about this exact topic of who are we speaking to, who should we be speaking to, and what does that look like? And what you articulated is basically what we landed on is that there's a specific group of people, and there's a lot of them, from a population perspective that kind of fit the mold of that would be interested in coming to a CrossFit gym, and there's you know it's and to kind of Nikki's point, I think that there's a wide range of it, whether it's previous athlete or someone that's driven or disciplined. There's a whole group of that, and it's not necessarily, it's not an age range, it, it's not a demographic that is normally targeted when it comes to a market. It's a mindset, to your point, which does make it harder, right?
Mhm.
Because it's much easier. to get the data on a specific demographic of whatever type of human being and target the heck out of them, right? And get them to where you want to get to. That's not news to anyone, right? Oh, hey, we're looking for, 18 to 25 that live in these areas, right? But for us, it's a mindset. So how do we do that? And again, you bring up a really good point of partnerships. And this is something I would say that we haven't done a great job historically of really identifying partners that we speak to, and that speak to a similar audience and that can amplify our message. So, there a good, I won't get too much into it, but like we have in the past year turned down probably more partners than we would have, that we maybe would have in the past because they definitely they may not fit that mindset, right? Now, it doesn't mean they're a bad brand. It just doesn't really fit and elevate our overall brand. Where yeah, money's great, but what's more important is if we're going to partner with someone, yes, they should have a good quality product, service, whatever it might be, but also they should be helping us reach an audience that we might not be reaching ourselves and that our gyms might not be. So a lot of it also comes into reaching them. So I take Noble for an example. I think that's you know I know a lot of the crew at Noble. A lot of them used to work at Reebok for 10 years. So with many of them were members of the gym, and I look at what they're doing, and I think it's a really cool aspect because they're diversifying outside of CrossFit, which is good for us because they're going to speak to different people, and then but also they will be talking about CrossFit, and that's really good. They're obviously a New England company, but Mac Jones is on a billboard doing some with the barbell on 93, and so people are looking up. Trust me, the Patriots fans are looking up what Mac Jones is doing, and they're going to see CrossFit as that cross pollination, and those things add up over time, right? So I think those things are really good, and then from there, I think it's also how we what the message we send is, and to your point of anyone can do CrossFit, but it's not for everybody. How do we articulate that? I hear the word challenge, the phrase challenge chaser. I'm not necessarily, I don't know if that's a great phrase, but I understand the sentiment of it is CrossFit is not easy, right? You have to do the work yourself, right? No one is doing the pull-up for you. No one is, no. And that's the sentiment, right? Where you're going to have the best coaches in the world. This program is effective, but you have to do that work. And we're not bashful to say that, right? Where, oftentimes some programs will say different things about it, but for us, like you're going to do that work. And how do we articulate that with empathy and also understanding, right? Because you can be disciplined, be a hard worker, but also still be nervous and intimidated. And I also think that comes down to the social aspect, Nikki, to what you talk about is I think that it's nerve-wracking for a lot of people to be vulnerable. I mean, CrossFit is very humbling. That's also why it brings a very similar group of people because you will be humble, right? You check your ego at the door, right? I mean, and if you bring that thing in with you, you're going to be limping out because that's the beauty of it. But that's for a lot of people that's hard to get to that point. And again, it comes down to how we communicate it and also how our coaches communicate it, and we all probably can think back to our first CrossFit workout, and how it was introduced to us. We're like, yeah, it probably worked for us because we were meatheads. We loved it. It was, I did Fran was my first workout. Right.
Me
And
too.
it bundled me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Globo gym, buried in a trash can, throwing up after doing Fran, probably none of the reps counted. And I was all in, right? I was like, this is the hardest, dumbest thing in the world. And I love it. Right. But probably not the best way for me to introduce that to, my grandma, right. Or my mother-in-law. Right. And, so I think that's also important of like how we introduce it. Right. There's some people that bury them, right? Go out there and they'll love it. Other people is, I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through. So I think that's kind of, John, to your point of, I agree with that group of people. And we are actively looking at how we can, speak to those with that similar mindset because it's not a small number of people by any means.
I'll give you one I was thinking about earlier today, just because I have a little experiences. I have a kid that's in college and she's doing rock climbing. She wants nothing to do with CrossFit, but she wandered into the University of Cincinnati functional fitness class one day and was really impressed that the kids in that class knew who her dad was. Right. So it was like a funny moment for us. But so I'm asking my daughter about this and I'm like, so it's a CrossFit class? She's like, no, 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 it's not CrossFit affiliated. It's functional fitness. In my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, why aren't there free CrossFit affiliations on every college campus in the US? Bringing these kids up, right in the heart of it. And in some cases, maybe offering scholarships where they can come out, become coaches, own their own gyms as soon as they get out of school. Like we have this goal of, I forget what Don said, how many CrossFitters he wants
30
to have in
million.
the next 10 years. It was a big number.
Yeah, 30 million. Yep.
30
Yeah, 30.
million.
Well, what do we have now? 2 or 3? Like
Yeah,
that's
like three. It's about 10x. Yep.
yeah. So, it's a pretty big jump, and so if you're going to make that jump, it's certainly going to be difficult to go from 13,000 affiliates to 26,000, which is what it would take to get to his number. Be far easier if you have people doing it on their own. And I think college campuses is a great partnership because you achieve what we're talking about here, which is finding driven individuals that have their entire future ahead of them. They're good learners. I mean, they have to be because they're in college, or most of them should be, you would imagine. And they're occasionally going to work out with a hangover, but otherwise they're going to have fun, and they're going to grow up and
Same
love
with
it.
adults.
Yeah, fact. Big facts.
Yeah, just like the rest of us. But I guess
That's
the
right.
point is like, catch them while they're young, get your target audience and let them help us build it. Because every time I talk to my kid, she's doing some new hobby that all her friends are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point. It's like they all travel in packs. And if you want to get a bunch of them at once, that's how you get them.
Yeah, it's I do a lot of thinking about this topic, John, of that age group. One, because I'm getting out of touch because I have a four-year-old daughter, right? So I can talk Disney, I can talk that world, right? And I'm what, 35, 36. So there's this big gap, and so I don't really know anyone that is a teenager to really like early 20s anymore. And so, yes, out of touch, I guess you could consider me I'm in that out of touch, sort of that moment. But it's really important because to your point, that's the next generation and super influential and really important. Um, and yes, like we have some, colleges, universities, but it's at this point, it's organic, right? Hey, someone's there.
Yeah.
It's a nonprofit. We let that happen and we support that. But it's how do we get to your point on in every school and there's a lot of this and universities, schools, and then I try to take it out to the it's like how do we also work with corporations and places like that where come one come all type of thing. So that's I would say that's been it hasn't been the main focus because one of our main focuses was stabilize and take care of our community, which I feel really confident and good about where we're headed with that now. The next step is to your point is how do we start to set the future up for success and in turn our affiliates, right? Because more people doing CrossFit in college means more people will become CrossFit members out of college, right? But and and even pulling it earlier to high school. My dad actually works at a private school in New York, and I always ask him, and he's the crazy CrossFit guy. He's the 65-year-old that teaches CrossFit to the kids and to the staff. And I asked him, like, do the kids do CrossFit? He's like, well, the ones that come to my class do, but most of them just, open up their phone and pull something up on Instagram or TikTok and they do that. Right. And, they don't listen to me. They listen, and it's, how to communicate to the younger generation is much different than how we are currently communicating. So I think there's a few steps. But I love the university and college angle. That's when I found it. I found it in college and it did change the course of my life, right? I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If I hadn't, I probably, I know I would, it would have been a very different route, and maybe not have even started CrossFit. So the challenge for us is, in anything like that, is where can we allocate resources appropriately to make that effective, and to universities and colleges not necessarily easy not to crack, but the resources are there, right? They have
Yeah.
these gyms, to your point. They're doing, they have wonderful facilities. How do we get them, into a level one or whatever it might be? So these are conversations that are happening, but I love that mindset, and agree that that age group is really important. And
Yeah.
it's tough. I look at very rarely, like it's like you said, your daughter doesn't do CrossFit, right? And but someone else will probably be actually get her to do CrossFit other than you, right?
Yeah,
And it's
right?
probably got to be
Yeah.
one of her peers.
It'll be a
You know,
boy.
it's
It'll be a boy.
Yeah.
No
yeah,
doubt.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's I mean, again, my daughter's 4. We bring her to swim lessons. I look at the swim lessons. I'm like, I could teach this, and then my wife's like, well, she wouldn't listen to
She
you
wouldn't
in the
listen to
pool.
you.
I'm like,
That's right.
like,
That's right.
that's fair. I was like, so that's why we spend this money, so she will learn how to swim. And I'm like, and I was like, that's exactly it. That's why people go to a gym, right? That's why when it comes, and you need to have that the degree of separation, and we just need that opportunity to create that degree of separation to give the opportunity to learn.
Hmm.
So, and so I know it was a long answer, but I love that concept, and I put a lot of cycles and thought into the younger generation, and even CrossFit Kids classes at our gyms. I
Hmm.
think this is a huge opportunity for our affiliates that are. I think it's under leveraged currently because it's not easy to run an effective
Yeah.
kids program,
Yep.
but it's a huge opportunity and it's a huge market because all of us that have had kids know that you're willing to spend really whatever is like you don't even think about the cost
Yup.
if you're like
Mm.
if it's going to give you some free time and be beneficial for your child. So, it's if done correctly, there's
Oh
an
yeah.
infinite market of parents that want their kids to be better and would like 30 minutes of some sanity.
Oh, for sure.
So,
1,000%. It's a really great idea, John. Very cool. And especially
yeah.
now that CAP, the CrossFit affiliate programming, is free to affiliates. Like, there you go. There's like one big question mark already off the table, which
Yeah.
is like, how is someone maybe with a little bit less experience or a younger coach or someone who's going to lead a college or university style program? How are they going to
It's not that hard
program
to
with
solve really when you
grace?
think about it. You find some college junior or senior that's majoring in, physical education or whatever they call it these
Yep.
days. And
Yep.
you give them a free level 1 or in level 2,
Hmm.
however, whatever certificates you want to give them. And you give them the programming and you have to
Yeah.
talk to school and give them a space.
Well,
Or
the programming is now free for
yeah,
all
yeah. Well,
affiliates.
that's the point. You give it to
Yep.
them, and then, you might have to get a local affiliate to pitch in space. I mean, I guess that's
Yeah.
possible, but I think a lot of these, to your point, Austin, like Cincinnati has a gorgeous facility when it comes to exercise. Absolutely gorgeous. You
That's
just have to talk
cool.
them into letting you use it,
Yeah.
but
That's
they
right.
have, as an example, they have a rock wall for these kids. Totally free. I
Badass.
mean, my daughter goes, "It's free." I'm like, "Free my ass. I pay for that school. It's not
Right.
free.
Yeah. No.
It's
That's
No.
free
right.
to
No. No. No.
you."
No.
But, if they're going to give them a rock wall, why wouldn't they give them half a gymnasium to do CrossFit workouts?
Yeah.
That's right.
That's the
But yeah,
point. And
it's hard. It's hard to communicate to that generation in a way that is as effective as what we already know and love about CrossFit. You know what I mean? But tell you what, Austin,
Yeah.
when you want to start doing TikTok ads, you come to me because I help you.
Oh, well, no, no. I would. If we would want it to be effective, so I should not be a part of that process.
Well, I meant you
There's
as CrossFit HQ. But you know
Okay,
what?
okay,
Maybe you.
yeah.
Maybe
yeah,
it is you. Maybe you're
I
the
think
No,
next
you'd be
star.
no.
Who
great.
knows? Who
Oh man,
knows?
it's TikTok scares me. My wife really enjoys it, and she. I don't have, and like maybe I'm a little tinfoil hat, but like I don't even have the app on my phone. So like she sends me them. It opens up the browser, so it's like it's
Oh
actually like
no.
oh yeah, I'm
Austin,
one of those. But
no. Come on.
she's very into it. It gives me anxiety. And I'll see something on like, Instagram, but it's like a TikTok. And I'm like, oh, did you see this? She goes, I saw that last week. Like she
Oh.
crushes me. She's like, yeah, that was like that was on TikTok a week ago. I'm like, okay.
Austin, you
So
sound like a
yeah,
boomer. Don't do it.
I
Download the
know. And I'm
app.
trying,
You can do it.
I know, I try, I mean, I feel like I'm an Instagram. I used to be really, it's gotten harder. So like I said, I feel like I'm getting out of touch and it does give me anxiety. So I have to try to make sure I, stay in touch a little bit as
You
best I
gotta
can.
stay in touch. I mean, you're the next thing you know, your little girl's gonna be on some social media platform because you're gonna have to know what she's into, man, someday.
Well, Well, and I'm like, so maybe I'm just like, saving for like whatever that moment is, and I have to fully reimmerse myself. Like, so this is like the quiet period, and then
Mm,
when she, so maybe that's my subconscious, self, giving a year or
I
two
get it.
before it's,
I get it.
I'm petrified.
I am too. I also wonder, not to open this can of worms, we can talk about this on a different night, but like I have a 1-year old, right? Like soon to be 2. And of course I love posting pictures of him, and like my entire phone roll is pictures of him, whatever. It's crazy to think about, like there's gonna be a shift someday, right? Where like he's just like a baby, he's just like a little kid. But like someday he's not gonna want me to post pictures of him on my social media. And
Yeah.
someday it might not be appropriate either anymore to like post pictures of like the young man he's becoming. Like I don't know where or what the line is or whatever, but like it hit me the other day where I was like, he's basically like not a chubby baby anymore. Now he's like a toddler for real. And I'm like, shit, someday he's gonna be like, Mom, don't post that. I'm gonna be like, what is this?
Mine never do that, but they always want approval of what I'm posting. They want to make sure
Oh,
they look
all
Mm.
pretty.
right.
That's the thing.
Oh,
Like they got to
fair. Well,
look
they
good.
always look pretty. Let's be real.
Yeah. Well, that's not
Girls don't
true.
have non-pretty moments. Well, you're supposed to agree with me.
No, I think they're always pretty, but not everyone. You don't always take a great photo,
Oh,
and
fact. I'm the worst.
so the eyes closed or whatever, they'll make me retake,
Hmm.
but otherwise they're fine. It's totally
Just
fine.
wild. It's just wild to think about.
All right. Well, kind of last thing before we're wrapping up here, I thought, I did want
Yeah.
to say, I thought you guys did a really spectacular job last year at the games, really personifying the affiliate experience. I'm curious, any big surprises coming for us this year at the games that we're going to see in the same vein?
I would say, I mean, not necessarily big surprises, but the goal is to keep that experience, but also, pull it even more together, from the sense of what we're doing from a training perspective, like our education, our speakers, what's happening from an affiliate perspective, and so really making that one experience. So we're playing with how we show up, and so trying to make it better and more cohesive, and really thinking through that, when you walk there, you're in CrossFit. It's not, you're and what does that mean for just a CrossFit member, a coach, or an affiliate owner, and having different types of experiences, because your integration with CrossFit is at a different level depending on where you are at. So I'm really excited about it, and we've had a lot of time to prep. Last year we pulled it together, but it did seem like, are we going to make this thing happen? Um, and now it's like, all right, that was really successful. We're happy with how it was and how it was received. Let's continue that on. So I'm really excited about that, and also just having, we're still in Madison, which is nice,
Yeah.
for us, because you just know the lay of the land. So those things play in our favor of just being able to execute and not worry about little things. Where if it were someplace new, it would, that would add a whole layer of complexity.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I'm excited to come back to Madison too. I think it's going to be fun,
Yeah.
and I thought that entire experience last year was great. So I'm excited to dig deeper into this year. I had to sneak into the affiliate tent last year. I won't have to sneak in this year, but
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
that's
That's
right. Yeah, it's
exciting.
you're a card carrying member now.
yeah,
Hmm.
it should be fun. I'm excited about it though, and I will tell you, Austin, I really appreciate what you guys have done. I think the biggest thing I've appreciated coming out of CrossFit really in the last couple of years, that kind of post all the craziness that we all went through, is that you've never tried to water down CrossFit. Like that's always my pet peeve in gyms, when I see people watering down what we do and trying to make it something other than it is. It just drives me batty. And I think you guys have done a really good job with the programming and continuing to preach the message of great coaching as an example, because I just think that's so important. So thank you for continuing to drive that. I think it's really important, and fundamentally we've talked about growing the brand. Fundamentally, that's going to do it long
Mm.
term for sure. So
I appreciate that, and and that's, it's we, that's who we are, and it's CrossFit is it is so effective and it's so beautiful. It's that we can't ever lose sight of that,
Yeah.
and the coach is the mechanism there, and it's where you can deadlift in your garage, and I remember Greg saying this a long time ago, and deadlift for 10 years, you're going to get stronger. There's going to, and you can do it. There might be some injuries along the way, the coach's job is to take that that journey that you do in 10 years on your own, and you can shrink that down to 2 years to get to that same end state with less injuries and more results. And that's the beauty of that, is that you could do this anywhere, right? That's the beauty of CrossFit. So it started, but the mechanism is this coaching and then the community to make it sticky. And it's we can never lose sight of that. And that's the to your point, that's what makes it special. So and that's our job to keep driving that forward. So it's and I'm obviously biased, but it's when it's implemented correctly, man, it's a beautiful thing. And you can go around the world, walk into a CrossFit gym and feel welcomed. And that I think is one of the coolest things about CrossFit. And it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter your experience, you're part of the community. And that's those things that we want to be able to, and we'll shout from the mountaintops, because that's a special thing. And when you're in it, you're like, yeah, this is it. It kind of, it rebuys you in no matter what.
Yeah,
For sure.
Well, we're all biased for whatever that's worth. Nikki and I
Yeah.
are always accused of being in cahoots, and I don't even deny it at this point, because I love CrossFit, and it's hard to get me to say a bad thing about it for whatever that's worth. But other than the workouts, I hate Fran like everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Well, Austin, it's been fun. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being on.
Yeah. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, of course. Nikki, great to see you as always.
Likewise.
You look good tonight, by the way. I didn't even comment. You're all made up, got your glasses on.
It's rare these days. It's rare.
Well, I'm not saying that like you normally look ugly. I'm just saying you look nice tonight. That's all.
No. I mean, it's rare that I like show up with mascara on. Oh. No, I know what you meant. Thank you. Thank you for noticing.
You're killing it. That's all I'm saying. All right. Well, for everyone listening, appreciate you guys joining, and we will chat with you guys next week.